Welcome to an ocean blue collector's box tutorial with mini album. I'm Charee Filimoehala here at the Graphic 45 office, and I'm excited to teach you how to take this fabulous chipboard kit. It's a Club G45 exclusive from Jim Hankins, the gentleman crafter, and turn it into this beautiful collector's box. You can see it has this great little lid inside that fits this great little journal or mini album, so you can jot down all your notes. This box is going to be perfect for summer, which is just around the corner, or even printing out previous beach trip photos and getting all your memorabilia together in one beautiful home decor piece. This has been decorated by the wonderful Annette Green, and she's done a fabulous job using our Graphic 45 rose bouquet flowers, some of our die cut assortments to really decorate this box to bring it to life. And then inside the album, we are even going to add our own cute little signature where we're going to add some fun pages. It'll be great to add all those photos and your journaling from your adventures. So you're going to want to go ahead and grab your supplies so you can follow along with this tutorial. Of course, if you're not already a Club G45 member, you can subscribe by heading over to our website, g45papers.com. And you can either subscribe to get the monthly kits every month directly to you, or you can just pick up this kit over there as well. So with this kit, we're also this month going to be learning how to create these super fun little matchbook boxes that fit perfectly inside of our box. And they're great for storing your trinkets, sand, seashells, whatever you can think, but they're also a fun little gift idea as well. So let's go ahead and get started on creating this fun box and album. So to start creating our collector's box with the mini album inside, you're going to want to find your project sheet. So if you are a kit member, you have this kit, go ahead and find that. Otherwise, you can go to our website, g45papers.com, and then up on the top right, there's a tab that says Inspiration. Click that, go down to the bottom where it says Project Sheets, and then you can print this project sheet out. There are about 30 plus other project sheets on there too. So when you are done with this, you can go print out some other ones and get started on those adventures as well. So you'll always want to note, read the notes and the tools before you get started. And the notes here are going to let you know that with this amazing Jim Hankins, the Gentleman Crafters collection box and album, we had an error making these since it was our first time. Jim uses a heavyweight chipboard and we used a medium weight chipboard, which is our go-to chipboard. So some of the measurements didn't come out, translate exactly the same. So we have noted in the project sheet where you need to cut things down just so they fit perfectly. So just be sure to read your project sheet or follow along with this tutorial and we'll walk you through all of that. So we do apologize for that error, but it's still going to turn out just beautiful. Step 1, the box assembly. We are going to be cutting 2 of our tan stripes to be 12 inches by 2 inches. And then from the blue shell paper, we are going to be cutting 2 pieces that are going to be 6 3/4 by 2 inches. And 2 that will be 4 1/2 by 2 inches. Step 2A, we're going to cut a piece of our Blue Nautilus to be 6 5/8 by 4 5/8. And I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Nautilus. And we are going to take this piece and we are going to adhere it to the center of our engraved chipboard that's from your Jim the Gentleman pack that's already been cut for you. And we will go ahead and adhere this just to the center. So you'll see that there is going to be some cardstock or some of the chipboard still showing around all 4 of those edges. So you just find that center. Step 2B, we are going to adhere our previously cut blue shell pieces to their coordinating chipboard pieces. So the side pieces do have a little bit of this little indent here. And you'll just go ahead and adhere these onto their coordinating pieces. So when adhering these down, you can't always kind of use your fingers as a guide. So just having it flush with the top and sides on these long pieces, it should work out beautifully. And then once you get it down, just working from one end, you can go ahead and squeeze out any air bubbles with your fingers or use a bone folder at that point. And our side pieces do have a little bit of excess on either side, but once we stitch it all together, you won't see that. Step 3, we are going to be taking some thick tacky glue and adhering our panel pieces onto our base. So these are going to go right on top of this top of the chipboard, so it'll be covering up our little gap where you can see the chipboard. And it's not flush with the table, it's just right on top of that chipboard. And using a nice thick tacky glue is going to be helpful in making sure that it stays down, and also it will be helpful in drying more quickly. So we'll just put down our first panel and we're going to find our sweet spot right in the center. And adhere, and then you're just going to want to hold this in place for about 60 seconds, just making sure it is at a 95 degree or a 45 degree angle. You can even put something next to it so it stays upright, and then I'm going to go ahead and clean off my excess glue with a wet paper towel. Now I'm going to start on my other side, so just adding some adhesive down. We are going to adhere this right on top, making sure you pull out any of your hairs that get in the way, of course. Once it's nice and centered, hold that still for about 60 seconds. Or until dry. So now I'm going to add my front and back panels. You can see I've just moved my adhesive bottle to my other side while it's drying. Add my nice adhesive down, and then that's going to be nice and flush. And then while this is in place, I can go ahead and add a strip of my liquid glue to both sides of my panels, so it'll all be coming together now. So it should be nice and flush with the bottom of your chipboard base, and then meeting up nicely with your sides. Now pulling that away, I'm just going to hurry and wipe up any adhesive I got on my counter. And then I'll continue on to my last panel. So I'm going to put some adhesive on my side bits. And then on the bottom. Once I've got that in place, I can go ahead and find where everything connects. Of course, in the directions, it tells you to do the front and back panel first and then your side pieces, but I really find that it doesn't matter either way. So at this point, we have completed both steps 3 and 4, and we've got all of our pieces adhered together. So your box should look a little something like this. And it's at this point not the most durable, but we will be adding on some more layers of paper on the outside as well, creating some more strength. Step 5 is optional. So it is creating a nice little divider inside of our box. So you can see there's a blue divider dividing our little matchbook boxes. And if you do want to use your project just like we are here, I will walk you through step 5 to show you how to create that little barrier that we're going to be creating. But if you do want to keep it more open, maybe you want to use this for storing your photos or postcards, you can go ahead and just skip step 5 altogether, as well as step 6, and then move on to step 7. So if you're doing step 5, the optional piece, we are going to be creating a divider. So just taking any chipboard that you have left over in your stash from previous projects. It could be any color, or you could even use a few layers of like a cereal box kind of cardstocky chipboard as well. But if you were using something like that, you would want to glue, I would say 3 or 4 layers together to get a little more strength. But we are cutting these pieces to be 6 5/8 by 7/8. And then we're taking a piece of our blue Nautilus. I've already forgot how to pronounce it. Our Blue Nautilus, and we are going to be cutting that down to be 6 5/8 by 1 7/8. So we are just going to be adding adhesive to the back side of our Blue Nautilus. So I'm just making sure it's nice and flush with the bottom and both of the sides at this point. So I've got it good on that side. And then once it's adhered, or once I've got it where I want it, I can just go ahead and push out any air bubbles. And then now I'm going to be slowly wrapping this. So the easiest way I'm going to find to do that, to get a nice crisp top, is to just take our chipboard piece itself and kind of just start bending the paper along with it. So once we've got it all bent, we can make sure it's all adhered down. Now that was easy peasy. Now before I add any adhesive onto this, I'm going to make sure it fits inside the center of my box, just because since we're all making these at home, things can vary just by a difference of, you know, a 1/16 of an inch or an 1/8 of an inch. And you can see just directly putting mine in there right now, it's kind of bowing. So just playing with it, I'm going to see if I can get it to lay straight. I think. And I think I can, just by playing with it a little bit. So now I'm just going to add a bit of adhesive. Now it's coming out much better. Still spilled some on the side. To the bottom of our chipboard piece. We'll just clean up that edge a little bit. As well as to our sides. And now when I'm putting this in, I'm just going to kind of curve it so it's not going in completely straight at this moment. So once I find my placement right in the center, I can straighten it out how I want it, making sure it's nice and straight. And before you adhere the center divider in your box, you are going to want to make sure that your sides have dried. Otherwise, if it's still drying and you try to put this in here, it's going to pop your box right open. So just keep that in mind. But that does look nice and centered to me. So I'm going to go ahead and let that dry. Step 7, we are going to be cutting 2 pieces of our sand dollar to be 6 3/4 of an inch by 1 inch. And then we're going to take our matching box flap that has the rounded corners, and we are going to be doing a little bit of tracing. So you'll see just on the reverse side, on the ivory side, we're going to trace our little chipboard flap. And then once we do that, we can cut out those corners. Step 8, we are taking our lid piece, which is the biggest piece. It's going to be 6 3/4 by 4 7/8. But this is one of those pieces we're going to be doing a little bit of trimming. So we are going to be trimming off 1/8 of an inch. So it ends up being 6 3/4 by 4 3/4. So if you have a heavy duty trimmer like I do, you can go ahead and just trim off that 1/8. Or if you don't, you can use a ruler and a craft knife to just trim off that 1/8 of an inch. Next, we are going to take our tan collage paper, and we're going to cut this to be 6 3/4 of an inch by 4 3/4 of an inch. And then from that same paper, we're going to be using the B side to be cutting some hinges that will be 1 inch by 6 3/4 of an inch, and we'll have 2 of those. And then with those, we are going to go ahead and score just down the center at 1/2 of an inch with both of those. Note, do not adhere your paper on the chipboard pieces until advised. Step 9, we are going to be taking the blue shell paper, and we're going to cut this to be 6 3/4 by 4 3/4, and we are going to adhere this to our lid. So at this point, this will be the first thing adhered to our lid, and this will be the inside of our lid. Step 9, we're going to take one of those hinges we've created and add some heavy duty dry adhesive on there. Go ahead and make sure it's nice and scored. And then we are going to take it to the top of our lid, and then we're going to take our flap and we're going to adhere that down so it's nice and about 1/8 of an inch, leaving about 1/8 of an inch room from the inside of our lid and the inside of our box flap. That way it's going to give it room to be flexible and move back and forth. A tip for step 9, if you happen to have magnets and you want to add them, you can go ahead and do that before you add your sand dollar paper down. So once you, before you adhere your sand dollar on the inside flap, you do want to put your magnet in the center and then find that center point where it meets on your box, and then add the other magnet there. So it'll be ready to go once you add your papers. Next, we're going to take one of our box flaps, and now we are going to, from the sand dollars that we traced and cut earlier, and now we can go ahead and adhere it on the inside of our flap. So finding that perfect placement, we can now adhere that one inside flap. We will leave the outside left off for now. So at this point, you should have the inside of your box lid looking like this. Now taking our other hinge flap, add adhesive onto both sides. I've just taken my heavy duty adhesive off of one side, and now we will find the perfect placement on the other side of the top of our lid. So we want this to be able to be nice at a 45-degree angle as well. And then once you have that placement that you like, you can go ahead and burnish your hinge down. And now we're going to adhere it to our box. So this is step 11, and we are going to peel off our heavy duty adhesive and just matching up where we want this to go. We want our lid to sit nicely flush with the back. So it should all fit together beautifully like this. And then once you have your placement, again, just to seal it down. If you're following along with the printout instructions, you'll notice that on step 9, I jumped a little ahead of myself and I did step 12 with step 9. However, it all came together the same way. So if you're doing it with me in the video, you should be here. If you're following along with the project sheet, then you do want to now adhere your front flap on. But once you've got your front flap on, we are going to take our tan collage paper we've already cut, and this is just going to adhere onto the lid of our box. So just finding that center point and then adhere that down. And then we're going to take our remaining sand dollars piece for the flap, and then that will adhere nicely on our flap. So just putting it down on one end and then sliding it through your fingers is a really easy way to make sure it's getting a nice good seal and you're getting out any air pockets without ruining your lid. And I'm just going to put my box up on its side like this and make sure everything is adhered down. Step 14, we're going to take these 3 little square fish stickers and we are going to do a little bit of layering. So I'm going to take my ivory fishy and I'm going to just put my blue fish just right on top of that one. Nice, and just making these a little bit more sturdy. And then with this blue fish, I'm going to glue it on or adhere it onto the back side of the sticky of my other blue fish. So however I look at these stickers, I'll have a blue fish on the front and on the back. Once you've made your little blue fishies, then we are going to add this to our front flap. So just hanging off about 1/4 of an inch and then in the center, just using some nice heavy duty adhesive since this is going to be getting a lot of action. Once you have that adhered down, you can just take a paper towel to get any excess glue that tried to escape. And then it should look like this once you're done. Step 15, we're taking our tan stripes that we cut in step 1, and we're going to adhere these onto our box. So the first thing we want to do is find our center point on the front of our box, just approximately. And then I'm just going to kind of do a light fold. So add adhesive onto the back of your tan stripes, and then we're just going to work this paper around those edges. So we do want to make sure that we're getting a nice tight paper wrap. That way it's going to be nice and sturdy holding your box together, but we don't want to break our box while putting this together. So you don't want to push too hard where everything's going to fall apart. So it's a good balance of the two, and then working it slowly around those corners. And at this point you can see a bit of the foot of our box, but not to worry because we'll be covering that up. And then we're going to do the same thing on the back side. So finding our approximate center, with adhesive on the back side of our stripies, we are going to just make sure this is lining up just how we want it to on the sides. So making sure that it's nice and even on our sides. And then pull this around to make sure it lines up nicely on this side as well. And then take your bone folder And make sure you're really burnishing that down. I'm going to do a little sticker work to cover up the bottom of our box. So just giving it that nice polished look. So on the front, we are going to take this Seashells sticker border. And this is just going to go right in the front, flush with the bottom of our box. So just slowly working it where you want it to go. And then once you have it down, then we can just trim off the excess. And we'll just put that back on our sticker sheet. And then we're going to work on our sides. And this is a bit of a piecing together. So we're going to be taking these two pieces, the Make-A-Wish on a starfish and the cute little crab. And these are going to go again flush with the bottom. Really burnishing it down, especially over your little hinged area where we have 2 layers of paper. Then we'll flip over to our other side. This is just making this box so super cute. Annette really did such a beautiful job this month with this project. We have 2 different Club G45 project designers this year. We've got Annette Green and Maria Cole, and they both just do such beautiful work. And then for our G45 card club, we've got Ginger Rop creating those cards every month, and she is also just fantastic. So we're going to keep these little pieces because we're going to be using those in just a second. So right now for our back, we're going to do a bit of stitching together. So it's a fun creative use of making what you have left. So we have this little scallop piece on our other sticker sheet. So we have this little scallop sticker on our other sticker sheet. And that is just going to go flush with the bottom in the center of our box. And you can see we've got a little bit of our sides exposed. So we are just going to stitch it in with our leftover scallop pieces from our sides. So I love, like, these are the creative little genius moments Annette's known for, using up all those bits and pieces. But how good does that look? You can't even tell that it's not all one sticker piece. I am on a roll today, so for step 19, we are going to, that's when we add our sticker onto our sticker flap. But we did that already in step 14, so that's been taken care of already. And we did already talk about the magnetic option of adding to your box, which you would have already added at this point. But another option is adding some little Velcro. So like we have here, some cute little Velcro dots that you can if you want to have that flap shut. But we are gonna leave ours just as is, and it's gonna be super cute and functional this way too. Step 20, we are gonna be creating this cute little mini book holder that goes inside the lid of your box. So we want to find our front piece and for our mini book holder, and we're going to trim off 1/8 of an inch. So it's going to end up being 6 1/4 by 2 3/4. So just taking that piece, we will trim it down. So now it is 6 1/4 by 2 3/4. And then from our sand dollar paper, we're going to cut our paper to match. So it'll also be 6 1/4 by 2 3/4. And we will adhere this onto our chipboard piece. Now locate your 2 mini book holder side pieces, and then take from Sand Dollar, we're going to be cutting out 2 pieces that are going to be 7/8 of an inch by 3 inches. And then we're going to do the same thing we did with our flap, and we'll just trace around those rounded edges like you've seen here. And then we will go ahead and trim off those rounded corners. And then once you have that, you can go ahead and adhere your pieces down. You do want to make sure that you've got a piece going each direction. So you have one curved piece curving to the right and one curved piece curving to the left. Once you've trimmed those out, then we'll just adhere those down onto one side, making sure you have one curving to the left and one curving to the right. And then just trim off any excess if need be. And then with the bottom of our mini book holder, we're going to be cutting off a bit of this as well. So we want it to end up being 6 1/8 by 7/8 of an inch. So and then we're going to trim a piece of our silver dollar down to be 6 1/8 by 7/8 of an inch as well. And then adhere this onto our newly trimmed piece. So step 22, we're going to start adhering all of our pieces together. So just like we did with the base of our box, I'm going to do my sides first. So I've added adhesive onto the flat part of my curved side, and I'm going to adhere this on the back side of my mini front holder. And I want this sides to be flush and the bottom to be flush. And then the flat side with the sharp angles on top and bottom are going to be up towards me, and the curved side will be down towards the front of the box. And then I'm going to do the same with this piece as well. Lining up so it's nice and flush, and letting it sit here and dry for at least 60 seconds would be ideal. So then we're going to glue this piece in the center on the bottom in between our chipboard sides. So it might take a little finessing. You can see I've got a man down. So we're just doing some finessing and getting everything where we want it to be. So now that everything is looking nice and where I want it to be, I'm just going to add a little bit more of this liquid adhesive in my corners on the bottom. That way, when it all dries together, it's going to be nice and solid. Step 23, now that this piece has dried, I've added adhesive on the U shape of our mini album holder piece, and now I can adhere it onto my lid. So I just want this to be about, or at least, 1/4 of an inch from the bottom, and then even on both sides. So once you find your placement, we're going to just go ahead and hold it in place for about 60 seconds. And then once you've done that, you can just leave it somewhere where it can stay pretty upright, so it won't be sliding in any which way, and then let it dry. Now we are going to start to put together our little mini album that goes in that holder we just created. So we want our chipboard pieces to be our front and back chipboard pieces to be 3.5 by 6 inches. And they're just slightly too big, so we're going to trim them down like we've been doing. They're slightly too big to fit in our holder. But of course, if you're just making a mini album and you're not putting it in the box, or you're not putting it in that top little holder, you can make this any size that you want. You just want your front cover and your spine and your back cover to be the same length. So in our case, ours are 6 inches and the cover is our 3.5, and then our spine is 3.25 by 6 inches. So trim those all to be 6 inches, and we're going. Once you've trimmed your front and back covers down, you want to make sure that it's going to fit inside your little mini holder. So that just slid in nicely, so I know it's going to fit once I add some paper on the top of this. If it is a little bit of a tighter squeeze, you might want to trim off another 1/8 of an inch or so until you can get it in there. Now we're going to take our blue word collage and we're going to cut this to be 9.5 inches by 7.5. And then we're going to adhere our front and back cover and our spine, leaving 1/8 of an inch between those two pieces. And you want to use a nice heavy duty adhesive and then make sure it's nice and burnished down to the navy blue side of our paper. And then trimming all 4 corners, we're going to leave about 1/8 of an inch from our corner and our paper. Next, we're going to take our bone folder and we're just going to go around all of our edges, and then just using more of the flat side of your bone folder, not the tip, when you're creasing. That way you're not going to break through your paper. And then when you're wrapping things, your papers shouldn't tear when you're doing it this way as well. And then going in between your spine on both sides. And then last but not least, we want to just kind of mark our corners where we left that 1/8 of an inch paper space. And now we can go ahead and start turning up our corners. Like so. And then we can start folding our paper back. So now that we've bone folded everything, now we can start to adhere it down. So we kind of went over it all. So now that we've got our adhesive in play, everything's just going to lay smoothly and easy. Making sure those corners look nice and neat. And just letting my bone folder do all the hard work. Now that we're all adhered down, just going to go back over it all one more time. And then slowly score your spine again. Filimoehala. And now our book album is coming together. And of course you can do this with your chipboard sheets as well. You can cut them to the same dimensions we have, or just choose any size you'd like. Step 26, we're creating a stacked hinge system for our mini book. We're cutting 4 pieces from our Blue Nautilus paper, and we're cutting them down to be 1 1/4 by 5 3/4, 1 1/16 by 5 3/4. And then this one on the project sheet should say 7/8 of an inch by 5 3/4. So it lists twice 5/8 of an inch by 5 3/4. So just know that one of those is 7/8 by 5 3/4, and then one is 5/8 by 5 3/4. And then we're going to score all 4 pieces a quarter of an inch from the edge on the long side, and then you'll just flip that over and do that again, a quarter of an inch from the edge on the long side with all 4 pieces. Once those are scored, we'll go ahead and fold forward towards the solid blue side. So once those are all scored, we'll fold forward towards the solid blue side on all 4 of those. So now we have a 1/4 of inch rims on each side on all 4 pieces. Step 27, we're taking another piece of Blue Nautilus, and we've cut this one to be 7 3/4 by 5 3/4. And we're going to adhere this right in the center of our album cover. With this, you do want to make sure that you're getting a lot of adhesive down, so we don't have a lot of air pockets and bubbles, and you're using a heavy duty adhesive. So I'm going to be using some score tape and using a lot of it. So once you've got your adhesive on, just go ahead and burnish it down. That just makes for when you're pulling up all these little strips. That way they come up a lot easier when they have adhered down to the paper. So I've got all my strips up. Now I'm ready to adhere this onto the inside of my cover. So I just want to make sure I'm finding that sweet spot right in the center. I'm going to go make sure my diagonals are looking good, and then once I've got that, just adhere that down. And now to make sure that my book is coming together nicely, you don't want this to rip on our spine now, so just taking our bone folder at a low angle, not using the tip, nice on the side, kind of slowly go through our little channels for our spine. And then we can slowly start moving our cover. If you do this too fast, if you rush this part, this is where you can get some tears and ripping on both the inside and the outside. So you just kind of want to be gentle and go slow. All right, beautiful. So now we have the outside of our mini album cover all ready. So now with our pre-made hinges, we can go ahead and start adding these. We're going to start with our largest hinge. And that's going to go just right in the center of our spine. And adhere that down. And then you'll go to the second largest, and we'll put that in the center of the spine piece we just put in. Finding that center and let that dry. Now our third spine piece, just working our way down to, this is our second to the smallest piece, and that's going to go right in the center of this guy. And then last but not least, our little baby. And this is going to go right in the center. So those should all be nice and evenly placed now, about 1/8 of an inch apart from each other. Ready for us to add our pages into our book. Step 28, we're taking the blue side of Blue Nautilus and we're cutting it to be 2 3/8 by 3 3/4. And then from your die cut assortment pack, we are going to take this cute little diagonal stripe frame and the matching seahorse. And these are going to adhere just right in the center onto that blue piece. Step 29, we're going to cut a piece of Blue Nautilus to be 2 7/8 of an inch by 1 1/8. And then we're going to take from our sticker sheet, not from our die cut assortment, the sticker that says my birthstone is a seashell. And then that's going to go just right in the center of our Blue Nautilus piece. There is a die cut assortment piece that says that, but it is quite a bit smaller, so it won't look the same if you do use that. So you do want to go ahead and grab that sticker, not the die cut. And then we're going to grab a few other die cut pieces, such as these little hearts, and we're going to adhere everything down to our cover, so just laying it flat. So we're going to take our little seahorse element that we created, and this is going to go about 1/2 an inch from the top and equal distances from the sides. And then our little label, which you could always leave this label open to write in your own sentiment. Maybe from a beach trip from last year that you want to relive those happy memories right now. And then we're just going to take some more of these little die cut pieces and just add a little extra pizzazz to our cover. I'm going to place this sticker nice in the center. And then with some seashell circle stickers, I'm going to just add those to the top and bottom, like so. Step 30, we're going to be cutting out 4 pieces of our tan word collage. These are going to be 3 3/8 by 5 3/4. And then we're going to cut out 4 pieces of our stripe. And because we want our stripe to be horizontal, we're going to be cutting them to be 5 3/4 by 3 3/8, but we'll use them this way so our stripes are horizontal. And then we're going to add our pages into our book. So I've just added a thin line of adhesive on there. And then my first page is going to be a word collage page, and I want my word collage to be right side out and my ivory to be on the inside. And once I've got my placement, I can go ahead and burnish that down. So the front of my page will be showing a bit of the blue, and then the back side will be this nice ivory. And then I'm going to just do every other one. So next, I'll push my next flap forward. And then on the navy blue on the back side of this flap, I'll add a thin layer of liquid adhesive and then adhere down my second page, my horizontal stripe page. And then once you have it where you want it to go, burnish that down. And you've got another page. So we're just going to do every other one. So next it'll be a tan word collage. And then once you've decorated the cover of your box, you can decorate with your leftover stickers and die cut pieces. But I'm just going to show you just how we've done it. So we've got a word collage, striped paper, and then you can see we've got some fun uses of these stickers and then throughout here. But it's also fun to add your stickers and your embellishments when you're adding your photos and all your things, so that way when you know what size of photo it is, you know better what embellishment you want that to go on that page as well. And then you can always slide photos and notes and sentiments underneath these cute little elements as well. So once we've got that done, it's going to just slide into our box that we've created. And now we can create the top. 33, we are going to be decorating the box. So we're just decorating the top of our box. I've taken from our die cut assortments quite a few little elements that I want to use. We have this gorgeous little clock piece that says "Seize the Day." That is going to go on the left-hand side of our cover of top of our box. And then we're going to be doing some layering in the other corner. So taking this blue seashell, it's going to be my first layer in the corner. That's going to be down towards the right hand side. And then I'm going to take a heart piece. Then I'm going to adhere this cute little heart piece, just layering it over the top of my blue seashell. And then from this, I'm going to actually cut apart my flourish. So you can see I want to cut it right here between this flourish here and this round C looking piece down here. And I'm going to just slide this underneath my heart. Like so. And with this ivory seashell, we're going to pop that up with a foam dot. So if you have any foam adhesive, use that just to give it some extra dimension. And then using some foam adhesive again, we're going to pop up this seashell banner. I'm using some foam adhesive from Scrapbook Adhesives by 3L. We do have an adhesive category on our website where we have an offering of some of their adhesives. So if you want to check out to see what we have, I believe we have a few different options of 3D adhesive on our website, g45papers.com. And then Seashells is going to be just above where we had put our collage pieces down there. And then taking our other flourish pieces, we are going to create some cute little flourishes coming out of there. So I'm going to trim this one down again. So we'll adhere that down like that. And now this looks beautiful like this, but of course we are going to take it to the next level and add on some rose bouquet flowers. These are our Bon Voyage blue. And we're going to take 5 of these and adhere those just in the center of our clock that says "Seize the Day." Using some nice heavy duty adhesive. There are in that pack some lighter blue flowers as well that you could put those in the mix too if you'd like. We're just going to stick to our navy today And then we've trimmed off the wire stems from these cute little rosebuds. But of course we'll keep our stems for another use. And then we'll go ahead and let it dry. But it's looking super cute. And all we have left to do is to add some cute little stickers. So from these corners, we are going to add these little shell corners up in the top left and right. And there you have it. We've created a stunning collector's box that's perfect for storing your memories and keepsakes, along with this album. Super cute. It's going to be great for your photos and journaling. And then of course, be sure to hop on over to our tutorial where we teach you how to create these matchbook mini boxes that fit perfectly inside of our collector's box. So we're going to make 4 of those on our next tutorial. Thank you so much for joining us here for our Club G45 Volume 5 Ocean Blue tutorial. We hope that you share your projects with us on Instagram and on our Graphic 45 community page. Just use that hashtag Graphic45. And thank you so much for joining us. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and then hit that notification bell so you're notified every time we post a new tutorial. Thanks so much, and as always, stay safe and happy paper crafting.